Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's an author, coach, as well as a fellow podcast host, and of course, speaker too, no other than Miss Jennifer Wescott. Welcome, Miss Jennifer, on Book 101 Reviewing. Can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Thank you, Daniel. I really appreciate the invitation. Yes, this is the first book that I've published, and it was inspired by my late beloved husband, who passed June 17th of 2024. And we started communicating together, and he actually told me that it was time to share this story, and that it would be helping and serve a grand purpose for humanity and the world to share this, shattering the illusion of death and communicating with our beloveds, with people that we love on the other side of the veil, and overcoming grief as well. And so this is my purpose, along with coaching and yeah, publishing the first book was really a huge deal for me, and I'm just really happy to be here sharing this with you, Daniel, and your audience.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Jennifer. Thank you. Your book is titled about cosmic love story, not a tragedy, not a grief memoir, a love story. What is the framing something you arrive at immediately, or did it take time to see your loss through a lens of love rather than loss?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, both, because the same day that he transitioned in our house, I was fortunate enough to be able to spend time with him. He was here in the house. The funeral home came and they cleaned him up. They put him on the bed, and then they left his body here for me the entire day, and came back that evening to pick up the body. And during that time, as I'm laying on the bed with him, and I'm called to hold hands with him in this certain way that we had been doing for the past 2 weeks, which is a story in itself. But in that moment that I did that, and I started doing this breath work and this chant that we had been doing together. And when I did, all of a sudden the room started spinning, and I had what I call a transmission, is like a download, and a vision all at once. And there was a voice that came to me and through me at the same time I'm speaking these words. And the words were, "This is not the end. This is only the beginning. Rick is working in the causal realm, and you are working in the effectual realm. And together you are serving a grand purpose for the world and humanity. And Rick is going to help you to ascend, to be able to walk with him where he is, even while you're still living in this body." And then there was like something like light language coming out of my mouth that I had no idea what I said, but it anchored it. So in that exact moment, I went from devastation um, to so much excitement and joy. And then, of course, the days go on, and I go through grief. So, there was that moment, but then there's also um, the times when I was grieving, like really to the depths of my heart. And so and that I was given a new perspective on grief too, but yet it doesn't, just because you can have a perspective on it doesn't mean that you overcome it immediately or transform it. But it has helped me to transform grief and to see this whole perspective of death and grief in a whole new light.
Very well said, Miss Jennifer. When your beloved crossed beyond the veil, was there a specific moment, a sign, a dream, a sensation that made you believe communication was possible, or what is slow dawning?
Yes, there was a moment. I would say it was there were like a lot of little things, but a really big tangible one that I speak about in my book is um November 8th, 2024. Um I was woken up at 3 a.m. and it was Rick. And it was very clearly him speaking to me. And he told me, because I had been reading about this breath work from the science of breath that afternoon. And he told me, if you do this breath work now, we'll connect. And so I got up, I went to the bathroom, I came back, and I started that breath work. And there was a lot of, like, again, what I call downloads and things that were coming. But there were three very significant things that he told me. And he said, the first one was, you're going to be called to produce something quickly. Don't worry, you will be ready. I had no idea at that moment that it would be a book. I didn't know what it would be, but he was preparing me. And then the second thing is, he showed me my light. It's like he took me deep into my solar plexus, and there was this bouncing light that was really bright within me. And I could just see it very clearly. And he said, "This is your light. You need to see your light." And then he showed me something that I still have yet to really comprehend what it was. It was like two sides lanes of the road, and up in the further distance on the left-hand side of the lane was the number 72. And on the right-hand side of the lane was the number 72 also, but it was much closer to me. So I don't know what that was, but we had a moment where, like, we laughed, and because he was trying to get me to keep going, and I just couldn't. I was wiped out. And so I called him a pusher, and then we laughed, and it was the first real intimate moment with him in that way.
Interesting, Miss Jennifer. Many people who lost someone desperately want a sign but feel they receive nothing. When you first began to sense communication, did you doubt yourself? How did you learn to trust what you were receiving?
That's a beautiful question, because this is so. For me, it becoming very connected to the subtle, what I call the subtle realm. Things that happen that, if that person were here, and that happened, you would both, like, think it was magical, or be, they love to communicate with us in ways that we were connected to in, when they were here, in the physical body. And just to be more, I guess, present and still in the present moment, to be really connected with nature, to just notice the more subtle things happening around you. And when we're really in a hurry and rushing through life, we tend to kind of not notice these things. And then when we do notice, we also have a tendency to dismiss them. Like, oh, I was just making that up, or I was just imagining, or that wasn't real. So the two things I would say to really start receiving that communication is to pay attention to the subtle, to slow down, and then to embrace it rather than dismiss it. Um, and for me, I was very discerning about who I shared these things with. Like, if I didn't share with naysayers that I knew, I shared only people that I know would support me in that. And the other thing, too, I want to say is when you start communicating with them, which some people feel kind of weird, like start talking to them as if they're in the room, and then and asking questions, and you'd be really surprised at like the magical ways answers will come to you from them, and you'll know that it's from them, just by the nature of how well you know their heart, their humor, and their uniqueness.
Miss Jennifer, do you initiate the conversations or does your beloved one come to you unbidden? Is there a difference in the quality of the communication depending on who reached out first?
Mm. Yes, well, it's both. It is both. Sometimes I feel him reach out first, and it'll be typically it is when I'm maybe walking my dogs. Like the first time I really heard from him was um I am walking my dogs and I'm not thinking about anything. It's not like I'm conjuring up anything. I wasn't reaching out to him, and suddenly I heard him say, "Will you marry me?" We were already married, but meaning like in, and I knew in that instant he meant in all of the realms. Um, and so that was one thing, like when it just comes in like a bolt of lightning and has nothing to do with anything you are thinking about. This is really, these are true moments. um and then when I have reached out to him, sometimes I ask him a question. It could be a practical question about life, or show me this, or can you help me make this decision? And I'm always shocked at how quickly he brings an answer in that I wouldn't have thought of. Like it was not in my radar. And and again, it's kind of in the same way. It just boom, it's right there, enters your mind right there, and your heart feels it, and no, it just goes, oh yeah, of course, that's truth. Our heart knows truth always.
Miss Jennifer, have you ever received a message that made no sense at that time, but later, sometimes much later, revealed its meaning?
Yes, that has happened quite a bit. And I would say that so what happened, going back to the November 8th, when he said you will be called to produce something quickly, then on December 29th of that same year, um, I'm walking the dogs, and I'm standing next to this tree. I refer to it as brother tree. It's like my favorite tree. I love it. And I standing next to it, and all of a sudden I got one of those lightning bolts again that said, "It's time to share your story. You're going to write the book. You're going to write a book about Rick's transition and your experience, the transmission." And I really doubted it. I mean, I really was like, wow, right now? It just, it logically did not make sense to me. And I was really trying to understand and make sense. And literally an hour later, I was getting on a call with a friend of ours who is an intuitive. And I had decided I was not going to tell him about this. We got on a Zoom call and we were chit-chatting, and then he says, well, Jennifer, I just got one thing for you this morning. I got it about an hour ago. And he said the exact same words. It's time to share your story. And I just like, I mean, the full body goosebumps, and I like started crying. I still have the recording of this, and I love to go back to it and just go, like, that was so amazing. So yeah, so to answer your question, like, that was the message I got later, that I could look back and go, oh, that's what he was talking about when he said, you'll be called to produce something quickly.
For some, the idea of continued communication brings comfort. For others, it might delay the natural grieving process. How do you navigate the line between holding on and staying open?
Yes, that's very, very good. Um, you know, I would say you just have to feel into it for what's right for you. If because do I hang on to Ricky? Yeah. Um and I hang on to this because to me it's a new relationship. When I was told this is not the end, this is only the beginning, my understanding of that is the relationship goes on. However, like, it has also brought more purpose into my life than I've ever had. Like, I feel like his transition has actually led me into my true purpose. So like, you really have to ask yourself, because you don't have to communicate. There's some people that don't want to communicate with someone on the other side. I've had people that have passed on that I don't particularly like feel called to reach out to them. And I also feel that, like, as long as we're in this body, the communication that we're having with our loved ones on the other side, that we do want to communicate, are enriching our lives here in this physical world. And so if it's not, then it's maybe time to ask yourself, is this an escape? Or, what am I just, right? Because I don't have this desire, like, oh, I would just like to leave this world and go be with him. And I think that's a really important thing, because as long as we are here in this body, there is a purpose for us, whether we know what that is or not. And the purpose could just be showing up with love every day to the people that we meet and that come into our world. There's no greater purpose than that.
Miss Jennifer, has your understanding of love itself changed, or is love different on the other side of the veil?
Yeah, I feel like love is more, it has changed my perception of love and my capacity to love more unconditionally. That's a very, very, we all love with conditions. We've been programmed to do that here for sure. However, on the other side, uh, I believe I believe love is unconditional, because the the perception of who we are, the immortal soul that lives and houses itself in this body is love, and that is our true nature, and that is where we come from and where we will go again. And in the meantime, we have forgotten that, and have taken on a lot of beliefs about our our personal identity, that is not unconditional love. So it's an opportunity to expand more into our true nature of unconditional love, and also without judgment, that we may not actually embody that on 100%, but we will expand more into it until we really do know that is our true self.
Beautifully articulated, Miss Jennifer. Writing a book this personal means revealing yourself completely. What was the part of your story you hesitated to include?
Could you repeat that? That I hesitated. What?
Hesitated to include, and what almost did not make it into the final pages?
Uh-huh. I was afraid of judgment, because
Mm-hmm.
I was very afraid of being judged, and particularly by um, people that I'm close to. So I hesitated. There's a strong part of the story where the tarot cards and channeling were a big part of the story, and I know people have different views on that and what that is, and so that was a hard one. That I mean, I couldn't not put it in because it was so much of the story, but I was really nervous about it. Um, and then I would say there were pieces of, as a memoir, it's also really hard with a memoir because you have to think about who you're talking, the people, the real people, and who you're talking about. Um, and when I learned how touchy this potentially could be, every single chapter that had somebody in it that I shared about the story, I sent those chapters to them to make sure they were okay with it and in alignment with it. But and it was a really good thing I did. But there was also some part of Rick's journey with his children and his ex-wife that was really hard to write about, and it almost didn't make the book. And the dedication also to his kids, that they actually weren't in contact when he transitioned. But he told me he wanted the book dedicated to them, and so that was in there too. So those were the hardest things.
Miss Jennifer, to wrap up our discussion for today, if you could say one thing to your beloved right now in this moment with the microphone on and the world listening, what would it be?
Oh God. Uh, so thank you. God, thank you for being in my life. Thank you for transitioning when you did, and for this new way that we are, um, working together now and have a purpose now. I love you.
Well, well said, Miss Jennifer. So, can you please invite our listeners to support a cosmic love story?
Yes, 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 please. Thank you. It is I have a website. It's jenniferwescott.com, and you can find the book there, and also the link to Amazon. And of course, you can find it on Amazon across the books. If you do type it in, you want to put "Shattering the Illusion of Death." It'll take you right to that particular link. Yeah.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Jennifer, and then if you support her for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Jennifer Wescott, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the great questions and the invitation.
Yes, and I'm inviting you again to please do come over to my other podcast, Abstract Essay, and let's talk about more writing process of your book.
Beautiful. I'd love to.
So, Miss Jennifer, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Modicam people, see you soon. I will